Dear friends, when we talk about significance of stability of dividend policy, a stable dividend policy is advantageous to the shareholders as well as the company. Its main merits are as first, fulfillment of investors' desires for current income. It means there are many investors such as retired persons, widows, etc., who desire to receive regular income to meet their current living expenses. If a company declares a lower dividend, they may have to sell their shares to obtain funds to meet their current expenses. Hence, they are willing to pay a higher price for the shares of a company with stable dividends to one with fluctuating dividends. Second one is regulation of investors' uncertainty. When a firm follows a policy of stable dividends, it will not change the rate of dividend even if there is a change in its earnings. Hence, when its earnings fall and it pays the same rate of dividend as in the past, it gives an indication to the investors that the future of the company is brighter than suggested by the fall in earnings and the value of its shares remains stable. Third one is requirement of institutional investors. It means a significant factor encouraging stable dividend policy is the requirement of institutional investors like IFCI, IDBI, LIC, GIC, UTI, and other foreign institutional investors. These institutions purchase the shares in large quantities and thereby affect the market price of shares purchased by them. The purchase of the shares of only those companies which have a record of paying continuous and stable dividend. Another reason is raising additional finance. Adoption of stable dividend policy is advantageous to the company in raising funds from external sources. Investors usually purchase shares of those companies which have an uninterrupted record of paying fixed dividend. Stable dividend policy is also helpful in issuing the debentures and preference shares because the payment of regular dividend is sufficient assurance to the purchasers of these securities that the company will not make a default in the payment of interest or preference dividend and in returning the principal amount. And the another issue is or significance is helpful in long-term finance planning. It means companies following stable dividend policy can easily formulate long-term finance planning because they can correctly estimate the requirement of funds to pay the dividend. Okay friends, these are significance of a stable dividend policy, and now we are going to discuss the factors determining dividend policy. One is financial need of the firm. It means financial need of a firm are directly related to the investment opportunities available to it. If a firm has abundant profitable investment opportunities, it will adopt a policy of distributing lower dividends. It would like to retain a large part of its earnings because it can reinvest them at a higher rate than the shareholders can. The second factor is stability of dividends. It means investors always prefer a stable dividend policy. They expect that they should get a fixed amount as dividends, which should increase gradually over the years. Hence, while determining the dividend policy, the merit of stability of dividend like investors' desire for current income, regulation of investors' uncertainty, requirement of institutional investors, etc. should be given due to consideration. The third factor is legal restriction. The firm's dividend policy has to be formulated within the legal provision and restrictions. For instance, the Indian Companies Act provides the dividends shall be paid only out of the current profits or past profit after providing the depreciation. Likewise, if there are past accumulated losses, they must be first set off against current year's profit before the declaration of any dividend. The next or fourth factor is restrictions in loan agreements. Lenders, mostly the financial institutions, put certain restrictions on the payment of dividend to safeguard their interest. And other factor is liquidity. It means payment of dividend cause sufficient outflow of cash. Although a firm may have adequate profits, it may not have enough cash to pay the dividends. It may happen when most of the sales are on credit and firm's cash resources have been utilized in the expansion of assets or payments of its liabilities. This situation is common for growing firms which needs funds for their expanding activities and permanent working capital. Thus, the cash position is a significant factor in determining the size of dividends. Higher the cash and overall liquidity position of a firm, higher will be its ability to pay dividend. The other factor is access to capital market. A company which is not sufficiently liquid can still pay dividend if it has easily accessibility to the capital market. In other words, if a company is able to raise debt or equity in capital market, it will be able to pay dividend even if its liquid position is not good. The another factor is stability of earnings. Stability of earnings also has a significant effect on the dividend policy of a firm. Normally, the greater the stability of earnings, greater will be the dividend payout ratio. The reason is that such firms are more confident of maintaining the higher dividends from year to year. And the another factor is effect of earning per share. As discussed above, high dividend payout ratio affect the liquidity position adversely and many necessities the issue of new equity shares in the near future, causing an increase in the number of equity shares and ultimately the earning per share may reduce. The other factor is inflation. Inflation may also act as constraint on paying larger dividends. Depreciation is charged on the original cost of the assets, and as a result, when there is an increase in price level, funds generated from depreciation become inadequate to replace the obsolete assets. So friends, these are the factors that affect the dividend policy of a company or firm. And further dividend decisions, the models of dividend decision, we will discuss in next lecture. And regarding this discussion, if any query, you can ask me through WhatsApp channel, telecommunication, or other way. Thank you.